Yo, Big C in the house. You know the name. Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami Heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Marino the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep, call it football nirvana. Big C, break it down, got the stats in his veins. Play-by-play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field, opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed, leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle, defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean, whole squash the champ. Tune in, Big C, got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast, it's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse. We the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. Defense smash, call it aqua tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.
Try to play, but you're never gonna beat me. Look the other way, what I'm doing ain't easy. Bloody hands stained from the people who deceive me. Muddy hands break through the chains, go free me. Looking for change, looking for pain. Pulling a mob, pushing a train. I'll never stop, stick to a lane. Pick up the pieces and go rearrange. I'll be the best above all the rest, put me to the test and expect nothing less, you check as I'm chess.
What up, Fin fans? Welcome to another episode of the Fin Posse Podcast. I'm your host, Big C, and this brought to you by Game Changers Media. How is everyone doing this wonderful day? February 3rd, a Tuesday. How is everyone doing? I'm doing all right, you know, still trying to comprehend and still trying to feel comfortable with the Dolphins off-season move so far, but it's been a struggle for me. I'm not going to lie, folks. It's been a struggle. Definitely, it's been hard for me to come to terms with the Dolphins' decision-making, and I know that everyone's stay positive. You know, I get it, but it just feels like the same old same to me, just different name, different personality, but the same. It feels like we're just traveling down the same path. And I worry about the Dolphins' immediate future. I worry about Sully's long-term plans because, you know, listen, I don't want to get it confused that I think that Sully and his limited interviews and limited stuff that he's did with the press and the limited stuff that we've heard from Coach Half, they sound impressive. They absolutely sound impressive. They sound like they know what they're doing. They sound like guys that you'd want running your football team. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to try to pretend about that. You know, but at the same time, this isn't the same NFL. This isn't our parents' NFL. This isn't even the NFL of our younger years. And to the younger people that may be watching this video, you know, back in the day, coaches and teams had years upon years to build. Now we're seeing 1 year turnarounds. You look no further than the Super Bowl this year. The New England Patriots had one of the top draft picks in the NFL this year. What they had, the 4th or 5th pick? And, you know, selecting the right head coach, and they go from top 5 draft pick to Super Bowl. So there's not you don't have years upon years to build something anymore. Results are expected immediately, or damn near immediately. And, they talk about keeping their own guys and not really, spending money on high priced free agents. And that's just not the world we live in anymore. And that gets me nervous. And even if you look at the Green Bay Packers, they made the big trade for Parsons. But besides that, name another big trade that the Green Bay Packers went out and made. Name another big name free agent that the Green Bay Packers went out and signed. They did a pretty good job of drafting players in Green Bay. They did. But Aaron Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl. Brett Favre had 1 Super Bowl. That's 2 Super Bowls in 40 years. That's more than what the Dolphins have. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I can't say that Coach Half or, Sully had a huge part in that. And the Miami Dolphins don't have Aaron Rodgers walking through that door or a Brett Favre walking through that door. Aaron Rodgers lots of times made mediocre wide receivers look great. Besides Devontae Adams, there was you can name some of the Green Bay Packers wide receivers during Aaron Rodgers' regime or Brett Favre's regime, but none of them were stars. None of them were stars besides Devontae Adams, who the Green Bay Packers drafted. But there was a lot of draft picks that didn't necessarily pan out or necessarily become, big time players. They were just a product of having Aaron Rodgers at quarterback or Brett Favre at quarterback. And I just think the way this team's set up, we're not set up for a 1-year turnaround. The way that we're different than the New England Patriots is that we don't already have a quarterback on this roster. We didn't hire a proven commodity head coach. And as much as I'm not a huge Mike Vrabel guy, Mike Vrabel was a proven winner with the Tennessee Titans. He proved that he could win as a head coach. We don't know what we're getting with Coach Half. We don't know. Also, the New England Patriots had a truckload of salary cap space that they were willing to spend on high-priced free agents. They went out and added hella pieces to that defense. And from what I'm getting from this regime is that that's not the path that they're willing to go down. And if you're just relying on drafting guys and re-signing your own guys, I don't know if that's going to be enough in the next 2 to 3 years to build this team up from the ground. Bonnie says, I heard an interesting stat. Teams that have the most Pro Bowl players since 2022. Dolphins ranked 22nd. The Packers ranked 3rd. And that's a great stat. That's a great stat. And again, how much is that because of Coach Half? How much is that because of Sully? Yeah, did Sully have a say? Did Sully have a voice in the room? Absolutely. Absolutely. But Sully's never been in charge. We don't know what Sully's going to bring. We don't know what Sully's going to do as the head man. Just like Coach Half. Coach Half's never been the guy at the NFL level. Whereas on Mike Vrabel, you know what Mike Vrabel's done as the main man. You know what Mike Vrabel's done as the main man. You know what I mean? Does it make sense what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to be a hater. Really, I'm not. I'm not trying to be a hater. But I feel like, they're talking about, we're the Green Bay Packers of the South or the Green Bay Packers of the AFC. And I don't necessarily feel like that. Yeah, they brought over some of their, Green Bay Packers guys. I do think he hired an incredible amount of guys that he's already worked with, which I get that too, to a point. But just because you worked with a guy doesn't mean that guy's necessarily the best person for the job. You know what I mean? That doesn't necessarily mean that because I worked with this guy at Boston College for 2 years and I really liked him, that he's the best person for the job. That doesn't mean that. And I wish there would have been a little bit more diversity in the hiring process as far as our assistant coaches went. I don't know why they all needed to have a relationship with Coach F. And I get it. They're people he knows. I get that. But just, I know a lot of people. But that doesn't mean we can put together a coaching, productive coaching staff. You know what I mean? But the Miami Dolphins did finalize their the one missing link that they had, their defensive coordinator. They got that figured out. I mean, it was known for a while now. The Dolphins, Sean Dugan. Sean Dugan was a defensive the linebackers coach for the Packers. He's a longtime close associate of new Dolphins head coach Jeff Hafley. They've worked together at Boston College, Ohio State, Green Bay. I'm not making too much of a big deal about this. Coach Half's calling the plays. Defensive coordinator, he's just making sure that players are running the plays the correct way, doing things the correct way, going about their business the correct way. So it's not a move that I feel like affects the team too much. So I'm not mad at it. I'm more upset with the Bobby Slowick hire as offensive coordinator, because Bobby Slowick's pretty much going to be the head coach of the offense. And I just don't, Bobby Slowick, yeah, he had a successful year with the Texans. But man, I have a lot of questions about this football team. I have this feeling in the stomach that, this is not going to end up going the way that we want it to go. I would have loved for us to, I've said it numerous times on this channel, I would have loved for us to have waited a year. You know what I mean? We just weren't in a position to go out and truly have an opportunity at the best coaching candidates available. We just weren't in a position to hire the top coaching candidates. And that's because, we weren't an attractive option. And Bonnie, I know Half only hired 5 coaches out of 16 from Green Bay. Yes, I said that. But almost every one of the coaches had been with him somewhere along the way. Miami's DC will not be calling plays, so just helps prepare for game day. I just said that. Edward, thank you. Blake says, Big C, this is called post-traumatic stress. Y'all got to let go, my man. We don't know anything about nothing with how this is going to play out. You're right. I don't know how this is going to play out, but it's like watching a new horror movie. You know what I mean? You might have not seen this one, but you've seen enough to know that the blonde girl's going to make a stupid mistake and the black guy's the first guy to die. You know what I mean? You've seen enough of them to know what happens. It might be a different one, but you know that the blonde is going to make a dumb move and get killed. And the first person kills the black guy. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. I've seen enough of these first-time head coaches, come in here and not produce. And we've seen some of the biggest names at the coordinator positions come in here. Look at Adam Gase. Adam Gase was considered a god. You had Peyton Manning, signing off on this guy, saying he's the most brilliant offensive mind he's ever been around. You know what I mean? And complete disaster. The Flores had success here, but Flores had a lot of, a lot of issues. Brian Flores had a lot of issues. He had some success on the field, but a lot of issues. And first-time head coaches have a lot of issues. That's why, I feel like Mike McDaniel, when he's given his next opportunity as a head coach, is going to be completely different. He's going to be a way better option. He's going to be a way better head coach. I see big things in the future for Mike McDaniel. He had to cut his teeth, and he cut his teeth with the Miami Dolphins. And I hope that's not the case with Jeff Hafley. You got to learn on the job, and that's not what this team needs right now. We don't need a head coach that needs to learn on the job. And I don't care that he coached a couple of years for the Boston College team. I don't care that he was the head coach there. It's a completely different ball game. Pros college is completely different. What up, Marcos? Christian, what's going on, brother? So, obviously, we got key dates coming up. The Miami Dolphins next, now that we got the coaching staff figured out, is what are we going to do with the most important position in all of sports? What are we going to do with the most important position in all of sports? We have to answer the $99 million question. I got 99 pounds, but a quarterback is one. A quarterback is one. What are we going to do with numero uno? What are we going to do with Tua Tagovailoa? What are the options? What are the options? Let me address it. There were a lot of teams this year with a first-time head coach. Bonnie, you're right. There were a lot of teams with a first-time. But how many times do we got to do the same thing? Why couldn't we try something different? This year, there was a lot of head coaches that had great experience. You had John Harbaugh. You had Mike Tomlin. You had the Buffalo Sean McDermott. And Sean McDermott fired the same day that we hired Jeff Hafley. I have an issue with not giving, not taking a step back and being like, hold on, this changes something. This changes things. Sean McDermott just became available. They didn't do their due diligence by taking a step back and being like, okay, there's a new coach available, a coach who has crazy experience. He's got, he's had crazy success as an NFL head coach. I know he's never won a Super Bowl, but consistently the Buffalo Bills are in the playoffs. Consistently they've won the division. Consistently they're one of the better teams in the NFL. The Miami Dolphins should have took a step back and at least see if he would have took a phone call with the Miami Dolphins. They should have did that. Sean McDermott couldn't do it with Josh Allen. What makes you think he could help Miami? Sean McDermott got him there. And let's not, Josh Allen, let's not pretend like this guy has overly performed in the playoffs. Josh Allen has made a lot of key mistakes in a lot of key areas. But damn it all, if you're telling me that the Miami Dolphins are consistently going to be in the divisional round or the championship game of the playoffs and at least giving us the opportunity, man, I'm in for that. I'm in for that. He's proven. He's a proven coach that has won in this league. He's a leader of men. He knows how to run an NFL team. Again, I'm not going to come up here and sugarcoat the hiring because I'm a Dolphins fan. Not everything that the Miami Dolphins does is right. And then we all complain about it 4 years later when things don't turn out right. But the writing's on the wall way before that. The writing's on the wall way before that. We just, as fans, wanna be happy, wanna think that our franchise is making the right moves for us. But time and time again, they've shown that they're incompetent of that. We just think Stephen Ross and the higher ups, finally got it right. They finally just something clicked in their heads and they're doing things the correct way. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I've seen this play out before. And again, like I said, I'm still going to cheer for these guys. I'm still going to hope all the success in the world to Coach Half, to Sully. I hope they knock out the draft. I hope they do everything great. I hope that I'm dead wrong. But I can't sit here and pretend that I feel like this is the right move for the Miami Dolphins. I can't sit here and pretend that we went and looked for a head coach at the right time. I feel like they made a massive mistake. I do not believe that this is such an upgrade over Mike McDaniel and Coach Weaver that we needed to, this wasn't Andy Reid that became available. This wasn't, I could understand, when they fired Mike McDaniel, when John Harbaugh became available, I was cool with it because it made it look like they were going to go after John Harbaugh, a proven winner. But then that wasn't the case. At this point, we have no idea whether it will be good or bad, but you can't criticize them before they even set foot on the field. Why can't I, Bonnie? I haven't earned that right as a fan to be apprehensive of the decision making of the Miami Dolphins. My owner and my team hasn't given me enough reasons to question their decision making. Is it unrealistic to think that a first-time head coach at the NFL level is going to have his issues, have things that he does that maybe aren't what's best, that he's going to make his mistakes? Is it not? That's not realistic to question that. I love this team more than just as much as anybody. I love this team. I just refuse to be fiducial once again. And you're gonna have to prove to me before I just say that this is the right. I'm not going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Prove it. Prove it to me. Once you prove it to me, I'll be the first to say, hey, I was wrong. But until that point, I think that I'm justified in having my concerns. I feel that I'm justified. I feel that I have earned the right as a Dolphins fan who has supported this team year in and year out through the good, not very many good times, through the bad times of the last 25 years, that I deserve to express my opinion. It's not going to be a winning season regardless, but let's see what they can build. Well, I think this regime's going to tell you a lot right off the jump. And I'm very nervous about the moves that are being talked about already. First and foremost, you got to talk about Tua Tagovailoa. What are the Miami Dolphins going to do? The best options for the Miami Dolphins is to trade away Tua Tagovailoa. But again, you got to find a trade partner, which is nearly impossible for Tua Tagovailoa at this point. The way that he performed last year, leaves so many questions. His health leaves so many question marks that teams don't want to touch him. The amount of money that you're going to have to pay him, teams don't want to touch him. But the best case scenario for the Miami Dolphins is to find a trade partner. Some teams that have the cap space that could possibly make a trade for Tua Tagovailoa, or perhaps the Indianapolis Colts. They got $37 million. Daniel Jones went down with that injury last year. He's not going to be ready for the regular season. They had to bring in Phillip Rivers. Maybe the Indianapolis Colts would like to make a trade for Tua Tagovailoa. You have the Atlanta Falcons, who got $27 million in cap space. Michael Penix hasn't worked out. Kirk Cousins hasn't worked out. Maybe the Atlanta Falcons would like to make a trade for Tua Tagovailoa. You got the Rams. Maybe Matthew Stafford retires. Sean McVay over there. Maybe he's willing to take a flyer on Tua Tagovailoa. They got $48 million in cap space. And then the best option, the best possible option, is you got the Las Vegas Raiders, who have $87 million in cap room. They play in a dome. That would probably be the best option. But again, they got the first pick in the draft, and more likely than not, they are drafting Mendoza with the number 1 pick in the draft. Now, this isn't just a straight up, we'll trade you Tua for a 3rd round pick. No. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take Miami sacrificing to make a deal happen. They would have to trade Tua Tagovailoa and probably at least a 3rd round pick to whatever team that's taking Tua, and you're probably only getting a 6th or a 7th in return. And you're going to have to eat some of that cap. So it would only give the Miami Dolphins some cap relief. Trading him would only give the Miami Dolphins some cap relief, but they would have to come up off probably a 3rd round pick. That's probably the best option. And I'm not, none of those situations, none of those scenarios do I think are likely to happen. I'm just saying that's the Miami Dolphins. In a perfect world, that's what would happen with the Miami Dolphins. I'm not saying that, again, those are very unlikely to happen. I think it's very unlikely that anybody trades for Tua Tagovailoa, unless they're just thirsty for a 3rd round pick and they got a bunch of cap space that they're not using. Another option is you cut them and label them a post-June 1st release. That splits that $99 million cap hit into 2 years. It would be we can take an actual look at it. Let me see if I can bring it up. Cap. Let me bring it up for you guys so we can take a look at it together. Sorry about my voice, guys. It's been still getting over that cold stuff, and all right, so best option is to trade Tua. Chances are you're not going to find a trade partner, right? Next situation is you can, I'm not saying it's the next best option. You can cut Tua Tagovailoa and label him a post-June 1st, right? Cut bones post-June 1st, submit. You take a $67 million cap hit this year, so that saves you $32 million this year. In 2027, you'd have another $31 million cap hit. So it splits the $99 million cap hit in two, making it a little bit easier to swallow, right? Makes it a little bit easier to swallow. So if you were to do that, we'd still be 27 million over this year. That would leave us with 117 million next year. Again, this year's cap hit, if we label him a post June 1st release, 67.5 million this year, 31.5 next year. What I would do is I'd figure out a way to eat it this year. Undo. Oh shoot. 2026. What I would do is I'd find a way to eat it this year. Yeah, you're going to get hit with that whole $99 million cap hit. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. That puts us at $59 million over the cap right now. That puts us over at $59 million over right now. But we don't have no ramifications for next season. There's no, we owe 2-0 after this season. It's all gone after that. It's all gone after that. So we're free and clear. So we'd have 149 million in cap space next year. That number sound familiar? That sounds like a number that the New England Patriots had. Salary cap is going up also. I seen the number somewhere. I want to say it's going up at least $20-30 million. So right now that would take us at 59 million over. If we took the whole hit, if we took the whole $99 million hit this year. Now you label Tyreek Hill post June 1st release, submit. That takes us to 23 million over. Bradley Chubb post June 1st release. That takes us to 3 million under or over. So we're 3 million over with just 2 moves. Alec Ingold. That takes us the 600,000 over. Most teams don't use a fullback. I'm not sure if Halfley's going to use one, but there's a good chance that Alec Ingold is gone. And then Jason Sanders. 4 moves. You can take Tua's full cap hit this year. And with 4 moves, releasing Jason Sanders, Alec Ingold, Bradley Chubb post June 1st, Tyreek Hill post June 1st, that takes you the 3 million over the cap or under. That puts you under. That puts you under. So there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it that you can be free and clear of Tua Tagovailoa this year and still have some salary cap room to fill out your roster because the salary cap is going up. It's probably not much, Miller. Maybe a 4th. It's not as much as you would think. Going from 13 to 11, maybe a 4th and a 5th. I mean, I think that chances are Tua's out the door. In my opinion, chances are Tua some way, whether we release him post June 1st or we take the full cap hit, that's the more likely option. That's the most likely thing to happen. But to me, I would just be done with it this year. This year's not going to be a successful year for the Miami Dolphins. And to be honest, as fans, we don't really want it to be. We don't want to finish with 7, 8 wins this year. So we're stuck with the 11th, 12th, 13th pick next year in the draft. We don't want that. We want a top 5 pick next year so we can get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. We want one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. At least that would be the smart move to make. Now, I've heard rumors that the Miami Dolphins may entertain taking a quarterback at 11. I personally think that's a bad move. I think this is a weak quarterback class. I think that'd be a mistake. I think it'd be a mistake. But the Miami Dolphins are being linked to the Ty Simpson quarterback out of Alabama. I think that would be a massive mistake. The Miami Dolphins have a lot of holes. We need multiple pass rushers. We need multiple defensive backs. We need some offensive linemen still. We need a star wide receiver. And of course, we need a quarterback. But to me, I would wait till next year to get the quarterback. That's just, I think, what would be best for the Miami Dolphins. The quarterback draft next year should be considerably better. Miller says, I will riot if we draft another Alabama quarterback. I mean, Ty Simpson's name is being mentioned in circles for that number 11 pick. I think it'd be a massive mistake. So, again, I said there's 4 options for Tua, right? There's 4 options. We could trade Tua. That's the least likely thing to happen because just nobody wants to trade for Tua Tagovailoa. He's damaged goods. And he's got a huge cap number. We can cut Tua post June 1st. Break up that $99 million, 67 this year, 32 next year. Or we can cut Tua and just cut him straight out. Take the $99 million cap hit. 4 moves will take us under the salary cap. We'll be all right. This is going to be a rebuild year. This is a throwaway year. Just take it all this year. The final option is to keep Tua Tagovailoa on the team and let him compete for a starting spot. I don't think that the Miami Dolphins want to do that. I don't think the new coaching regime wants to do that. I don't think Sully wants to do that. I don't think Stephen Ross wants to do that. I think that's right up there with trading Tua. Would it make sense? I mean, to a point, you got to pay him, right? You might as well. You got to pay him. You might as well have a backup quarterback. But no, it would create too many issues. I don't think it would be good vibes for the locker room. Tua has said some questionable things in press conferences. I feel like that would be a major concern for the new coaching regime. Worrying about what Tua is going to say to the press on a daily basis. I just don't think it would work out. I don't think Tua is capable of winning the starting job at this point. I think Coach Half, I think Sully, they're not on Tua's side. Tua is not their guy. So I don't see an avenue where that works out. Yeah, it makes sense because we're paying the guy. You know what I mean? If we got to pay him, we might as well have a backup quarterback. But at the same time, you can't allow that dysfunction into a new locker room with a new head coach. You just can't do it. What up, Iowa Fins fan? What up? Thinking they're trying to build trade value for the pick. Ty Simpson, the only quarterback in that threshold. It'd be okay with a trade back. I'd be all right with a trade back. I wouldn't trade too far back, but if we could pick up an extra second, any ammunition, we need a lot of players on this football team, and we need them fast. Iowa says, I think we should cut Tua and draft a guy late and get a cheap vet and let them compete, or we should trade for Mac Jones or Davis Mills. Listen, Iowa, I'm not necessarily against that. What I'm against is bringing in anybody that is going to elevate this team enough that gets us out of the top 5 in the 2027 draft. That's what I'm against. Anybody that can elevate this team enough, and it wouldn't be overly difficult because the Miami Dolphins still have pieces. So with the right quarterback in here, we can win 6-7 games. And that absolutely takes us out of that top 5, top 10 draft pick situation for 2027. But I think that's worst case scenario. First and foremost, winning 6-7 games does nothing. It's not a moral victory. Like, screw that. We need to be in a position that we don't have to trade a bunch of draft ammunition to get a top quarterback prospect next year. I don't want to be number 13 in the draft next year and we got to trade future first rounds to get into the top 5. No. I'd just rather draft with my top 5 pick next year. Again, sorry about voice. I get to talk and stuff. I apologize. But draft someone late, and cool. I'm all right with that. I'm down for that. But as far as bringing in anybody that I'm just against it. There's, obviously they're linking Aaron Rodgers, Nathaniel Hackett, the Green Bay Packers. I would hate that at this point. And Aaron Rodgers, hated to have Aaron Rodgers. Even Aaron Rodgers be in the conversation. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Under coaching, their quarterback opening, Malik Willis. The Miami Dolphins do not need a Band-Aid. The Miami Dolphins do not need scraps. This guy is going into the 5th year of his NFL career. Has he been impressive in small doses for the Green Bay Packers? He has. But let's not pretend Malik Willis is necessarily a franchise quarterback. There's not enough evidence of that. Has he performed well with his opportunities? Yes. But there's no way that I'm going out there and giving him $25-30 million a year, signing him to a long-term deal, and then we're stuck with his contract. It takes us out the running for a quarterback next year because Malik Willis, with you pair him with Devon Achane, you pair him with Jalen Waddle and whatever other offensive pieces we pick up, this team can win 6-7 games, like I said. But to me, that's the worst case scenario. I'd rather us win 2 games this year. I don't want to lose every game. I don't want to be in that category. I don't want to join that club, the 0-17 club. But at this point, I'm cool with winning 2 games next year for the betterment of the franchise. For the long-term benefit of the franchise, I'm okay with 1-year throwaway. I'm all right with a 1-year throwaway. Because if we talk about these 1-year turnarounds like the New England Patriots like other teams that we've seen have quick turnarounds. That's the recipe for Miami to have a quick turnaround. The recipe for Miami to have a 1-year turnaround is to go in this year. You lose a bunch of games. You release two at. You just release them. Take that $99 million cap hit this year. Let's bring the salary cap calculator back up. You take that $99 million cap hit this year. Hold on, let me undo these again. Undo. Undo. I think there's one more. Maybe not. All right. So 2026, we released Tua straight out. That takes us to 59 million over. We cut Tyreek post June 1st, cut Bradley Chubb post June 1st. Oh, cut Nick Westbrook, Keeney, Zach Wilson. Undo. We'd have to do a post June 1st. Cut Jason Sanders. Alec Ingle cut. So yeah, that takes us $7 million under this year. Look at this number for 2027 though. 2027. That's 167 million. 167 million. You caught Austin Jackson next year. You get up to 180 million in cap space next year. Probably even higher than that. So if you want to talk about the 1-year turnarounds, you go in, you win 2 games this year. You draft the best that you can. You draft some corners. You draft some pass rushers. You try to fill out this team with best player available in this year's draft. You coach the guys up. You get them used to your scheme. That's a big change for the Miami Dolphins. Coach Halfs runs a 4-3. We've been so used to the 3-4 here in Miami. We're moving to a 4-3. So you give these guys a year to learn. A year to learn under Half. And then next year you draft your quarterback and you got 180 million and you go out and you fill the rest of your roster out with key free agents. And I know that everything that Coach Half has said, everything that Sully has said about just retaining your own guys and not worrying about going and getting the high-priced, big name free agents. You got to do some of that in this day and age. You got to do some of it. You got to sign some big name free agents. You got to. Now I would stay away from personalities like Jalen Ramsey. I would stay away from maybe personalities like a Tyreek Hill. But there's plenty of good players deserving of large contracts that are available on a year-to-year basis. And it's okay to spend your money if you have it. 180 million with a young team that has a bunch of hopefully good draft picks. I think our draft was pretty good last year. You give them guys another year to learn. You give the guys that Coach Half and Sully draft this year a year to learn. And then certain players like Devon Achane, Bradley Chop Robinson, Jalen Waddle, Fitzpatrick even. Those players that were already here. You add the Brewer, Jordan Brooks. You add those to the last two drafts. And then your young quarterback. And quarterbacks typically are ready to come in day one. A lot of quarterbacks are ready to come in and play day one. And then, like I said, 180 million in cap space. You want to see a first round, a 1 year turnaround. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. But the next thing the Miami Dolphins need to figure out is Tua Tagovailoa, and then you got some key dates that will rapidly be approaching. Let me see. This is what that off season looks like. Key dates to keep an eye out for. What the freak? February 9th, waiver period opens. February 17th, you can start franchising people. It closes March 3rd. March 9th, early negotiating window opens for pending unrestricted free agents. March 11th, that's the league year begins, and free agency period begins at 4 p.m. March 29th to April 1st, annual league meetings in Phoenix. April 17th, deadline for tendered restricted free agents to sign. April 23rd to the 25th, 2026 NFL draft in Pittsburgh. May 1st, deadline to activate fifth-year options for 2023 first-round picks. May 1st is deadline to activate. I just read that. May 19th to the 20th, spring league meetings in Orlando. June 1st, players designated as post-June 1st cuts released from roster. June 15th, deadline to retain negotiating rights with tendered restricted free agents. And July 15th, deadline to sign a franchise tag player to a multi-year contract. So that's what you have to look forward to. Before you know it, it'll be here. February 9th, waiver period opens. Teams can start waiving people. We're a little over a month away from free agency. A little over a month away from free agency. And the Miami Dolphins will meet. They gotta figure out what they're doing with Tua Tagovailoa sooner rather than later. Sooner rather than later. But what do you guys think? What do you think is the best option for Tua Tagovailoa? Bonnie, this day and age, you don't have 5 years to wait for a bunch of draft picks to get it together. To turn this roster around into a Jeff Hafferly and Coach Sully roster, it's a multiple year process. In this day and age, people want results immediately. People want results immediately. Yep, March 11th. The beginning of the new year, teams got to be under the salary cap. So that's where you probably see the Dolphins will make a decision what they're doing with Tua. Either he's going to be a post June 1st or they're going to cut him outright. If they cut him outright, that's where you see Tyreek Hill and Bradley Chubb become post June 1st releases. And then that's where you'll see Alec Engel cut. You'll see Jason Sanders cut, all before that March 11th. New England signed some big name free agents, Bonnie. New England signed some big name free agents. Plus, they already had their quarterback. But yeah, that's what we have to look forward to. A lot of things coming in the near future. But the next domino of the fall is what the Miami Dolphins are going to do with Tua Tagovailoa. And I hope that we stay far, far away from Malik Willis. That's my two goals for the next month and a half, 2 months. I just want us to stay away from Malik Willis. I think that would be a massive disaster for the Miami Dolphins. And it's not that he'll be a bad player. He's just not enough to get us to the promised land. So I just don't see the purpose of it. I don't think Malik Willis is a franchise quarterback. I just don't. I think he's good enough to help us win games. He's probably better than what we have. But I don't think he's enough. He's not good enough to be the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. That's just my opinion. Yours may differ. You guys might want Malik Willis here. I don't know. It's just not, it's not my plans. But my voice is all jacked up. Bonnie, I'm sorry that we're disagreeing on this. I love the interaction with you. I hope everything that you got so much confidence in turns out being right. I really do. I pray to God it is, Bonnie. And I'm not trying to be a hater. I'm really not. I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the same old same with this team and trying to be positive all the time. God knows I was positive last year when everybody else said the Miami Dolphins weren't going to make a playoff run. I was like, nah, they can. It's just, I just feel like I've seen this story before. I just feel like I've seen it before. And I hope they prove me wrong. But I got to get out of here before my voice leaves completely. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Hit that subscribe button, share, like. Please hit the like button. Please, 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 please. We're getting so close. Please help me out. I appreciate y'all. I love you all. And fins up. Peace.
Yo. Big C in the house. You know the name. Fin Posse Podcast. Changing the game. Fins up high. Feel the aqua and orange. Miami heat blazing. We scorching the floor. Moving the tour. We stacking the saga. Legacy deep. Call it football nirvana. Big C break it down. Got the stats in his veins. Play by play knowledge like he's calling the chains. Fins flying on the field. Opponents feel the blast. Tyreek cheetah speed. Leaving DBs in the past. Waddle with the wiggle. Defense with the clamp. Aqua drip so clean. Whole squash the champ. Tune in. Big C. Got the mic on lock. Fin Posse Podcast. It's the cream of the crop. Breaking news, hot takes, repping the block. For the Dolphin faithful, it's the one-stop shop. Fin Posse, we the voice of the fans. Miami stand tall, got the world in our hands. Best podcast, yo, ain't no debate. Big C, big vibes, setting it straight. The fin smash, call it aqua tsunami. X locking routes like a South Beach Armani. O-line holding strong, trenches like a fortress. Big C dissected, no stack goes dormant.